Alrighty. Hello everyone. So in this week's Parsha, there are a few main nekudos that I think are worth touching on. And we'll go through them, some kashas and some terutim, and we'll come out with maybe an idea that is very important for anyone who wants to live a proper Jewish life. The Parsha starts off obviously, "Vayomer Hashem el Abram, lechlecha me'aretz chamatcha beis avicha el eretz asher areka," as you see over here. And so as is famously known, Chazal tell us that this 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 pasuk was the first of the of the 10 nisayonos that Abram was tested with, and this was the first one that he had to leave. Okay, so that's Pasha Pshat. Now, we have a few kashas over here. First, a few Pasha Pshat kashas. First of all, Rashi says that, and the pasuk is essentially saying, in pasuk Beis, that Hashem telling Avram, leave your father's house, and then I will make you into a great nation. I'll bless you with money and fame. Okay, and you'll have kids. So essentially, Hashem is telling Avram, and by the way, this is after he got thrown into a fire by Nimrod, and after his entire hometown already turned on him and thought that he was, crazy and tried to kill him. So we have to keep that in mind in context. So after that, Hashem is telling him, lechlecha, go for you, and I'll give you basically everything that any man ever desired, because that's what people desire. People want fame, they want money, they want to have children. So l'chayra, it seems very, very shver. How do you understand what the nisayon is, right? There was no nisayon over here. I mean, at this point, he already made the God. The nisayon is not. The nisayon is not for him to start off, introducing monotheism. According to Midrashim and Chazal and Rishonim, Avram had already at this point in the Parsha in the Torah, Avram had already done that on his own, and he had to have done it on his own. Um, so that's not the pshat. The pshat is not that this is the nisayon of Avram becoming Avram and insisting on monotheism. That already happened. So it's very shver. What is the test? The second thing I want to know is, what is the pshat that the word lech and the word lecha are the same exact word, just different nikudos? Lecha means for yourself, and lech means to go, to walk, to develop, simply speaking. What is pshat? They're the same thing. Okay. Then we have the famous kasha that first it says artzecha, your land, molatecha, your birthplace, then house of your father. Should say the other way. And so for that, really, we have Rashi over here to answer that question. The only thing is, Rashi adds another layer to the kasha instead of really answering it. Because Rashi says that at this point, he says at this point, me'artzecha, he says va'alei kvar yatsa misham. He already left from there, im aviv. Right? He already left from his land with his father over here. And uvad charan, he's already in charan. Alakach amar, rather, this is what Hashem said to him: "V'srachek od misham, go further away from there, but say mi beis avicha, and go out of the house of your father." So Rashi is basically telling you that not only is this pasuk not only, so how is he answering the kasha? The kasha is, why is it saying your land first? Elamai, so everyone gives sort of the same teretz, which is basically that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is not telling Abraham to physically go out of his homeland first, because as Rashi just said, he's already out of the homeland. He's not in the place that he was born, the land. Rather, what is he telling him? It's a psychological void. In other words, a person, simply speaking, in the identity structure of his makeup, he goes, he has the Medina, the things that people in his Eretz do, Then he has specific things that his maybe his specific town or city does, and then he has even more specifically the base avicha, right? So Hashem wants him to basically leave behind the ideology, mannerisms, and any sense of self that was created based off the results of him interacting with his place of birth and land and father's house. So he wants him to leave all that behind, emotionally and identity wise, and he wants him to restart. That's the lechlecha. So, okay, that's fine. But lemaisa, it adds even more to the kasha, because it's not like the lechlecha is pshat that Avram was actually in the land of his father and he was currently being, he was very comfortable there and everything, and God was telling him, oh, leave your place of comfort. That's not a pshat, because he's not there. He's tapping out there. So it's not a pshat in, oh, leave your land, where you're comfortable and successful. And I mean, that wasn't the Matthias over here. So Chayra, it's very schwer to understand what is taka the nisayan of the first maimer of lechlecha. What is pshat? Why is that a nisayan? The second kasha is, and this is really more of a a deeper kasha, is that we know that Rashi over here says, right, which means go for you, and we know that Rashi says that go for you means kipshuta, right? Go for you means lechacha means lehanoascha, for your pleasure, your physical pleasure. Hana'a throughout all of Shas means to take physical pleasure from it. Ulitovascha, and for your own good. And says Sham Esrach Gadol Kan Etizoch Labanim. You're not going to be Zoch Labanim here, and Shadiyat Tabach. I'll also make you famous. Okay? So, what this means is, on a very simple level, is that Hashem was telling Avram, you must do this for your own good. Which means that Avram is mechuyev to do this as an act of selfishness, right? He has to do it as an act that he does it an act of complete self-expression. This is completely what he is. It's completely for his benefit, and he has to understand that when he's doing it, and he has to do it on that condition that is how he feels about the act, right? And we know this from here. You will see it says over here. This is describing Hashem's reason for why he tells Abraham about the fact that he's about to destroy Sodom. So it says, why would I tell him? It says, Ki edati, because I know Abraham, right? We're very close. We have a relationship. Why so? Why is it that we have a relationship? Because so that he can command his children and his house after him, and they'll keep the way of Hashem, to do tzedakah, charity, mishpat, and din, righteousness, so that Hashem should bring on Abraham this that he spoke to him. So the Seforno says that the second time it says Lama'an is that it's the pasuk saying it, that Abraham is going to do that in order so that Hashem should do this, right? But Rashi says that it's part of the tzivui, that though the second time it says Laman in this pasuk is a chelik of the tzivui that Avram is going to command his children, right? It says that lefishu matzav ezbar lishmar. He says kachu matzav lebanav. The last Rashi over here, your test. Kachu matzav lebanav. This is how he commands his kids: Shimru derech Hashem, keep the derech Hashem, kidei sheyavi Hashem alav Avraham v'gomer. So Rashi is telling you that Avraham, God is saying the reason why he is so close, and he knows Avraham, and he's going to tell him about Sodom, and he's going to involve him basically in the decisions that God makes for what he's going to do with the world, which is what God was doing, deciding what to do with Sodom. The reason why he's going to involve Avraham is because Avraham is going to command his children after him, and he's going to command them to keep the Torah and mitzvos so that Hashem could give to Abraham what he said he would give him, which means that the reason why Abraham is telling his sons to keep the Torah mitzvahs is so that he should get the schar that Hashem told him he would give him. That's why he's doing it, for no other reason. And that is an essential part of the reason why God is Yodea him. So it's clear from this pasuk, and it's very clear even from the pasuk Pshat and Parsha's lechlecha, that it is an essential chelik of the way that Avram relates to God, that Avram has to keep Torah and mitzvos for himself, and only for himself, and for no other reason. That is clear. So now the shaila becomes the following. It says in the Rambam that it says over here, one who is Oved Hashem from Ahava, right? He also the Torah mitzvos, he does Torah and mitzvos, and he goes in the Nesivos HaChachma, Lo mipnei davar ba'olam, lo mipnei yiras, not because of anything, not because yiras hara'a, not because he's afraid of bad stuff happening, lo kedei lirash hatova, not in order to get good, ela oseh ha'emes mipnei shehu emes. Rather, he does the truth because it's the truth. V'sof ha'tov lo b'gloa. And then he says, who is this? Ma'azu, ma'al gadol ma'od, it's very high level. Ve'en kocham zochel, he ma'as Avram Avinu. That is the mile of Avram Avinu. Shekara'o HaKadosh Baruch Hu ohavo. Because God called him his lover. God called Avram Avinu his lover. And this is not in the Chumash. This is in Tanakh. Right? Because it says in Nach, it says Avram Oavi. So you see the Rambam says that the Maila of Avram Avinu was actually that he was Ovid Me'ahava. And the Rambam says that the definition of someone who worships Hashem from love is someone who does everything that he does just because it's the truth. It is what it is the right thing to do. And that's why he does it. So how can, on one hand, we have a pasuk in the beginning of our parsha that Rashi says simple pshat, right? Don't mess up the Rashi, start stopping, religious ideas in there. The simple part of Rashi is that Hashem was telling Avram, you must do this, lechlecha. You have to go on this journey of discovery and kiruv and starting monotheism and starting all that for yourself. And Rashi says that means for yourself means for your hana'ah and for your tov, for your pleasure. Hana'ah is pleasure all throughout Shas. Hana'ah always means pleasure. And for your tov means for your good, your ultimate good. But clearly, it is part of the tzivay of Hashem that Avram goes for his own sake, his own pleasure, his own physical pleasure, and his own ultimate pleasure, right? So how can it be that Abraham, it's a stira? How can you say that Abraham's Maila was that he was Hashem, he only did emes itnei shehu emes, only did the truth because it was the truth. At the same time, you say that he was mitzvah to go do this, right, for his own good, not for anything else. And like we saw in the other pasuk, that it was actually an essential part of the relationship that Avram was dear to God because Avram did it. He commanded his kids after him to keep Torah mitzvos so that he can get the schar that he deserves. And that's part of the reason why God likes him so much, which is why he's going to include him in his decision about whether to destroy Sodom or not, which is just a sign that God was going to involve him in the managing of the world. So you see that it's actually an essential chelik. So what's pshat? Seemingly it's a stira. Okay. So in order to say this teretz, we have to understand something very sadistic and very, very important. The aside is the following thing. The idea of lechlecha is 100% the bedrock of Judaism. It's the first thing that God ever said to Avraham Avinu at all in the entire Chumash. The first thing he ever said to him was go for you. Which means that if any of us have any notion, right, when we do Torah and mitzvahs, that we're doing it for Hashem, or we're doing it to be, doing it because Hashem commanded, or we're doing it because, any of all these reasons, all these religious reasons, right? we're doing it because we're selfless and we only have the objective truth, and it's not about us. It's about the right thing. All of that is garbage and nonsense. A person only ever does something in a true fashion because because it is the reality of what he feels his self-expression is. It's what he feels he is about. So the underlying yesod is that the fact of the matter is, as we see over here in these famous Mishnah in Sanhedrin, that it says Chayav Kadam Loimar Shvilin Yivrayu. So that means that every person is commanded to say that the world was made entirely for him, and this is in the context of Iyam Eidim, which means Rashi says that since I'm only one person, and Chashav Ka'olam Malay, I'm so important that I'm not gonna mess up my life, which is so important. It's so chashuv. It's the whole world is made for me, so I'm not gonna do an avera and be made checker and give it an edus about someone that's not true to get him killed. I'm not gonna do that. So it's a fear for a person to have this mindset. So what's the shot then? Rather, the aside is that the way that this works is through ahava. And the definition of ahava, we know, comes from hav, which means giving, which was begeder the chesed that Avram did, which was give. But the way that those two things relate is because the main yesod is that what ahava does is it allows for the process and ultimately result of expansion of identity, which really means the expansion of the way that a person views what he is. So the pshat of that statement is the following, is that when someone takes a second to think about the way that he views what himself is, most people, unfortunately, they only think about their physical bodies and the time or the year that they were born and they came into the world as specific individuals. But in MS, every person is really a Yisrael, and the identity of a Yisrael is inclusive of all Jewish people, and it's inclusive of HaKadosh Baruch, and it's inclusive of the rest of humanity. And therefore, Mimela, when we say that you have to do everything for you, lecha, it is true. It has to be for you, and that's 100% a requirement. And without it, it's completely puzzle. If you think that you're doing avodas Hashem for the betterment of the world, or for Hashem, as if Hashem would need your Torah mitzvahs for some stupid reason, so then it's complete folly, and complete religion, and complete farcity, and has no basis in Judaism whatsoever. You can only do anything for you. The shaila is, what is you? The whole mila of Avraham Avinu was that he expanded the definition of the way that he viewed himself to include humanity and HaKadosh Baruch Hu. The Avraham Oyavi, what it means that Avraham was God's Oyav, means that Avraham did not view God as a separate being from himself. Rather, he viewed God as being a chelik of the way that he viewed himself, because he was his Oyav. And that's why the pasuk says, "Vaya'al Hashem me'al Avraham." It says Hakadosh Baruch Hu went up from on Avraham. Let me find the pasuk so you can see it inside. It says, Vayav Hashem me'al Avraham, and Chazal say, says Vayav Elokim me'al Avraham. Say Chazal, Lashon Nekiyu Kapi Shechina v'lemadnu shehatzadikim merkavto shel makom. Says Rashi. Righteous people are the merkava, the chariot of God. The pasuk says God went out of Avraham, which kaviyachol means that what it means that tzaddikim and the merkava, Hakadosh Baruch Hu was, so to speak, within Avraham himself, and he lifted from off of him, right? And the what that means is that is the aside that we're trying to say that Avraham viewed Hakadosh Baruch Hu as being part of himself, and therefore did when he did the halicha, the lech, when he went and he made all these sacrifices and went through all these things, he did not take the emotional credit that people take when they do things for others. Say, oh, look at me, oh, look how much sacrifice, look how much I sacrificed. I left this place and I went this and I did this for you and I did this for him. I'm such a tzaddik. I went and I did this thing for this guy, and it's all for other people. I'm so selfless. I didn't do any of that. I didn't take any of that credit. This is the pshat of the Nisayim. The Nisayim was not to do the things. When people do things in the name of, in the name of God, in the name of religion, in the name of helping for others, they can do so much, and they can take the emotional good feeling that it gives them, and they pose as altruistic, that they're so great because they did all these things for other people. Over here, we have to understand the etzem nisayim, the etzem idea, the basis of Yiddishkeit is that when a Yid does something for the betterment of himself or the world, he does not do it because the world needs him, God needs him, the other person needs him. He does it because it is a simple fact of the expression of what he is, because a Jew includes all of humanity in himself as a rule. Mishvili Nir Ha'olam is the pshat, that all of humanity is included in the single person. And the way that you achieve that status is through being an oihev, a lover. And the process of ahava, and if you want to know how to achieve this, the process of ahava is very simple. The process of ahava is the pshat that a person has a self, and he identifies that self with a certain number of factors of milos, of good things about himself that he feels are positive. And when he sees those positive things in others, it automatically generates a love for that other individual, because he sees the manner in which he views positive of himself in the other person as well. And therefore that person is ki'ilu, a chelik of him is ki'ilu in that person. This is how general love works. So if someone values money and he's working on making money, or he has money, he's working on making more money, and sees someone who's even richer than him or as rich as him, then he gets along with that person. He likes that person. He says, "Whoa, wow! Look how much money he's making. He must be such a great person," because that's a value that person has. The same thing if if you value Torah, if you value whatever a person truly values, when he sees that in another individual, it automatically generates love, because that individual has what to him are the good things about himself. That's the essential yesod. And therefore, the way that love works is through giving. And what that means is that when you give to something, it's giving the self. You're giving self, you're investing a bit of yourself or a lot of yourself into that thing, and therefore you love it. And this is true with kids, business, everything. The way that love works for something is everyone loves themselves, and then when they give away that self and they invest that self into something else, they love the thing they invested in because it's an extension of what they are. And this is just a Parsha effect, and it works that way because of what we're saying. It is inevitable. It is completely inevitable that a person only does for themselves, and it must be that. And that is the initial lechlecha. So what does it mean that you're an oyev and you do the emes with through emes? It means that you include HaKadosh Baruch Hu in the way that you view yourself, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu is only emes, and therefore you only do things that are emes, and you do them out of love, because that's part of what it means to have HaKadosh Baruch Hu as a chelik of what you are.